Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Husker Tailgate pregame show. I'm Carter Longy, joined by Harrison Arns. We're going to be getting you ready in this first initial segment before we throw it out to all the guys out at Tipsy Tina's for the On Location show. It's 8 a.m. and we're about 3.5 hours from Husker game time, and taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers today at home for the Broken Chair Trophy. Of course, that's been a big topic here at the ticket this week. So get excited! It's game day, Harrison. How are we feeling?
You know, it's kind of nice to have oh wow, my mic is super cranked up. My headphones, excuse me. It's kind of nice to have an 11 a.m. kickoff, not gonna lie. We've had so many late games now, and kind of having a morning game is nice. Minnesota coming in here, I'm excited. I hate Minnesota, I'll just be honest. Like, I cannot stand PJ Fleck. I hate him always saying, I remember last year it was they lost to Bowling Green, and then we played Minnesota the week after, and his post-game statement was, that's a culture win versus talent. And I was like, you just lost to Bowling Green, guy. So I don't like this team. It's a statement game. It's honestly a statement game every game for Nebraska at this point. Because what's the spread? 14.5 or something like that? 13.5?
Let me pull it up here.
Well, you look that up. What I'm saying is Nebraska, just no one is looking at Nebraska to win this game.
Yeah, it's 14.5.
14.5. That's what I thought. So, like I'm saying, like, nobody looks at Nebraska to win this game. Everyone's pretty much out on you winning. So if you're Nebraska, this is a statement game. Like, no one expects you. You have nothing to lose. When you have nothing to lose, you're dangerous. It's that Creed movie. It's a great movie, but you know, when you have nothing to lose, you're dangerous. Like, you have nothing to lose. You go out there, you play a great game. You know, and it's not like you're playing Ohio State. You don't need to have your defense play phenomenal. You don't have to have your offense play phenomenal. You just need everyone to be solid. You play solid, you can win this game. Like, you don't have to see, you know, crazy performances all across the board. Minnesota isn't a world beater by any means. And this is a team that I don't like. And I'd imagine if we've had players been on the roster for a few years, I'm sure they don't like them either. So, I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I love these games because to me, it's kind of a newer rivalry that's kind of come up between these two schools, something I didn't expect. But I feel like there's definitely some tension between the two.
Yeah, no, I don't like Minnesota either. I mean, you brought up PJ Fleck. I'd throw Tanner Morgan out there as well, because Tanner Morgan is the most average quarterback that I can think of in college football. He's not bad, he's not good, but for some reason, every time it seems like he plays against Nebraska, he turns into the second coming of Jesus or something. It's ridiculous. I mean, he plays out of his mind every single time. And of course, Muhammad Ibrahim is going to get his. He's a very, very good player. He's their best offensive player, and I don't think it's particularly close. He's just about crossed 1,000 yards in the season already for Minnesota. He's nearing the mark. But yeah, I mean, Nebraska comes in at 3-5. Minnesota comes in at 5-3. Nebraska, like you said, underdogs by over 2 touchdowns. So, absolutely nothing to lose in the game. And like you said, 11 a.m. kickoff. There's a little bit different feeling. For the 11 a.m. games, it's not so late in the day. People are up a little earlier and ready to go, and you kind of got to shake off, the rust as fans from the night before. I mean, you got to get kind of ready a little bit earlier in the morning. And although the 11 a.m. games don't always have the same energy as some of those later games, they're still a great time to come out and support the team. And I think Nebraska, as always, they always have a shot to win. I mean, it's like you said, it's not like Minnesota's some juggernaut. I don't think we're completely outmatched talent-wise here. There is, as much as you hate PJ Fleck as much as you hate to hear him say it last year, there is a culture difference between Minnesota and Nebraska. He has done a good job of building a culture there at Minnesota. They've gone from, a team in the past that was always kind of bottom of the Big Ten and, at best average, to a team that's perennially, at least average in the Big Ten. They're always going to win games in the Big Ten, although they are only 2-3 so far this year. So we'll see how this game plays out. But it's definitely, I wouldn't think that it's a 14.5 spread. I mean, if you just asked me blindly to guess the spread, I probably would have guessed somewhere maybe closer to 9 or 10. I think Minnesota definitely deserves to have the heads. I wouldn't call the heads up, but the better's advantage, I guess. Minnesota would definitely have it, but over 2 touchdowns is quite a bit. And I think Nebraska, I don't have full confidence in them to win today. I think they definitely have a chance. However, I do have pretty good confidence that they cover the spread. I mean, that seems like a lot for Minnesota to beat Nebraska, but I just don't see them losing by over 2.5 touchdowns today.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, we're talking with Tanner Morgan, like, that's not a super explosive offense. Like, you know what they're going to do? It's going to be Ibrahim, or is it Ibrahim or Ibrahim? I can never figure that one out. I think it's Ibrahim, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. But it's going to be a lot of that. They're going to be basically trying to force their way running the ball. And if that doesn't work, like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like another Illinois matchup for us. Your biggest goal is to throw them off schedule. It's not an Ohio State, so if you get them in third and long, like that's a problem for them. They don't like to be in those situations to rely on their passing game. So it's kind of the same thing as Illinois. Unfortunately, against Illinois, we didn't throw them off schedule at all. You look at their season averages; they got exactly their season averages when they played us. We failed to throw them off schedule. So same thing for Minnesota. You can't let them get their run game going and have them, 3rd and 2, because this is exactly what they want. You want to consistently put them at 3rd and long, because like we're saying about Minnesota, good team, not a great team. So there's ways you can break them down without necessarily playing an amazing game. You just have to be consistent. Once again, it's going to come to our defensive line stopping the run. And really, I think we need to do a better job and stop, me even too, just stop bashing on the defensive line, because I've been noticing our secondary hasn't been great either, filling those lanes and alleys. They need to come up and make some plays too. And our linebackers, they've been a little better filling those holes, but our secondary also at the same time, like our safeties need to work better getting downhill. Our corners, they need to set the edge better. There's so many times where if our corner gets a block, they're just not able to get off it. So those guys all need to play better. I mean, they got a great running back they're going to play against today. So it's going to be a big thing again. Just stop the run. You can't let them just do what they always do. And we might see something funky. I remember last year they're running jumbo packages against us because they weren't worried at all. And then for our offense, we still don't know really what we're going to see. Is it going to be Chuba Purdy? Is it going to be Smothers? Is it going to be a mix? Probably be Purdy start out. It sounds like that's the way it's going to go. But, we probably will still see Smothers in there, I'd imagine, especially after last year, hearing Purdy was pretty much hurt the entire week and he didn't really practice. So that one kind of surprised me with Whipple, but I will be curious to see what we kind of throw in there. If it's Logan Smothers, we might see a little more of the option, which we don't really see in the Whipple offense. But knowing him, I think we'll see Purdy. And if things are going right, we'll stick with Purdy. If things are going array and, we kind of see last week's Chuba Purdy, we'll probably see Smothers go back in there. But, like I said, we got nothing to lose. And Minnesota doesn't really know what they're preparing for. Casey Thompson's out. They don't know if we're going to be, they're probably preparing for Chuba Purdy in a passing offense. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Logan Smothers in there as early in the first half. It could be either guy, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, excuse me, in last year or even early in this year, I think we probably see Smothers, with Frost at the helm, making a little bit more of the, big time calls, because obviously, we all know he loves to run the ball with his quarterback. So I think we probably would have seen, Smothers had this been, earlier in the year. However, with Whipple and, Mickey, of course, driving the offense, it didn't really surprise me to see Purdy, because they want to throw the ball. Although Anthony Grant's been very, very good this year, he has taken a little bit of a backseat past couple of games. He hasn't read quite as much as he did early in the season, and so I was not too surprised to see Purdy get the start, because obviously he does have the better arm. If you go look at their complete package for both quarterbacks, there's still probably an argument that Smothers is better, in general at this moment in time.
For this offense.
Sure. Yeah, without a doubt, because obviously with the poor offensive line that Nebraska has, it's just the glaring weakness of this team. Having a quarterback that's mobile is definitely a plus. Not that Purdy's not, he's not a complete,
no, he's got a little bit of wheels, but
yeah, he's not a statue, but he's not Logan Smothers. That's a run for a quarterback that can also throw. But we'll see how it goes. The whole quarterback situation, obviously, that plays a lot into how today's game goes. That's probably another reason, I guess, looking back on it, that there's such a big spread. I guess didn't kind of forget about the fact that Nebraska does not have their starting quarterback in this game. So that's definitely something to watch for. Nebraska, this is the start of an absolute ground and pound gauntlet, though, at the end of the season. We got Minnesota today, then we have Michigan and Blake Corum, then we have Wisconsin and Braylon Allen, and then of course Iowa is Iowa. But
that's what I'm saying. We got to figure it out quick, man, because like I was saying before, at this point we're pretty much playing the same team every week, except they're a little better and worse. But for the style, except for Michigan's probably the only team with a quarterback that can do more. But Wisconsin,
and Michigan is just also a way better team.
Yeah, talent wise, but in terms of style, the teams we got down the stretch: Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. Michigan's probably the only one with a little more of an offense to flex. They can do more things than just run the ball. Wisconsin, it's going to be a lot of the same thing. You got to learn to stop the run and throw teams off schedule. That's what they're going to want to do. So, like I said, you have to prove it in this game that we can stop you running the ball. And I don't know who we're going to see step up on defense. honestly thought Garrett Nelson's been coming back alive a little bit. I hope to see a lot more of him. Still waiting on O'Shawn Mathis.
Yeah, he just hasn't never really showed up, and it's really unfortunate. I mean, he came in as a transfer, very, very exciting at the beginning of the year for him to come in. And he's had games here and there where he's made some big plays. Obviously, he made the one play. What game was it? Indiana, maybe. Towards the end of the game when
it was Indiana.
Yeah, okay. He made a big play at the end of that one that pretty much helped Nebraska put it away and really make the statement there. But other than that, I can't really think of a whole lot of plays that he's made this year that was really made you go, oh my gosh, thank God O'Shawn Mathis isn't. Like,
right.
That's the difference right there. Otherwise, it's just been kind of he's been
just average.
He hasn't been bad. Yeah, it's just he just hasn't been the guy that we thought was coming over from TCU that had however many sacks the last couple seasons that was supposed to be the kind of the savior on that D line. And again, the D line hasn't looked great. I know, like you said, we harp on them a little bit too much, but I don't know. The whole defense just hasn't been good. And
no.
I mean, they got to work together as a unit. So I mean, no matter what position group you want to blame, they just all need to be better. You were right though. The linebackers are probably the one that have played decent.
They've been better for sure.
They've been better. But yeah, the D line and the secondary both need to really tighten things up. Otherwise, Nebraska's never going to have a chance. I mean, if you want to preview this game of how it could go bad, you just look at two stats. Minnesota rushes for 223 yards a game, and Nebraska gives up 190 yards a game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
bad recipe right there.
That is a very scary stat to look at, and it makes you really uncomfortable for what today's game is going to look like. So, hopefully Nebraska, can pull it out. I don't really expect them to. Just being honest, I don't think I'm going to pick a Huskers win today. I mean, we'll obviously keep discussing a little bit, and we'll give exact score predictions here towards the end. But yeah, it just doesn't look super great so far today on the schedule for Nebraska. It's looking a little bit scary. I don't really know how to feel. I'm just kind of uneasy. I mean, obviously I'm going to root for the Huskers. I want them to win. But just the way that this team's up and down, and after Illinois just dominated them last week, I just don't really know what we're going to see. I mean, especially with Case Thompson now, I have no idea what to expect.
Well, hopefully Trey Palmer can get the damn ball this game.
Yeah.
What do you have? One reception last week? I think it was one reception.
Don't have the stats in front of me, but
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident in that. I think it was only one reception for not too many yards. It was a short game, but last week is very important. We just saw Trey Palmer dominate Purdue. Still lost the game. We're like, okay, here we go. He's going to be, one of the keys to victory. What was it? You got it.
1 catch, 1 yard.
Yeah, there you go. 1 catch, 1 yard. Not great. And some of that's on him. I know our quarterback got hurt, but he wasn't able to find as much space. It was very obvious that Illinois was locked in on him. And it's going to be the same thing this game. They're going to want to take him away from us. So I hope to see Anthony Grant. I mean, last week, Anthony Grant was getting 5 yards to carry. And for whatever reason, we're down a quarterback. We still don't go to our run game. And it blew my mind. So, please, Mickey Joseph, just please, if we are getting 5 yards to carry, keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the age-old saying, just run the damn ball, right? I mean, eventually you got to do it. You got to establish the run. I know,
right? And that was the first half.
It's the easiest thing to say in football, but it's so true. It's so true though. If you get a good run game going early on, it makes everything so much easier. Especially like play action stuff and whatever like that. I mean, Trey Palmer will eat that up. I mean, if you get Anthony Grant going and then you go play action on 2nd and 2, everybody thinks it's a run to Grant coming, fake it, and Trey Palmer streaking down the sideline, and that's should be a wide open shot. But I don't know. We'll just have to see how Nebraska does, I guess. I'm saying I don't know a lot, but that's about all I can say is I really just don't have a whole lot of answers on what Nebraska can do at this point. I mean, all I want them to do is just go out there, play hard, and I just hope they give themselves a chance to win. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Do the things that you got to do to try and at least make the game competitive and keep yourself in it so that maybe you can get a play to break your way towards the end. And I've also said this quite a bit over the last year and a half. I hope today is another one of those situations where we're not sitting there in a close game saying, well, what's Nebraska going to do to screw up and lose?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's just, they stay in the game, they play clean, and you wait for that moment where Nebraska wins the game. Not the moment that Nebraska loses the game. Wait for that play that, Purdy hits Palmer for a big gain and that really secures the win. I mean, that's all I'm hoping for today. But that's pretty much all I've got to say on Nebraska at the moment in time. I don't know if you want to add anything else, but I thought we could maybe take a look at some of the other games we got coming up in the slate today. College football?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give one more comment. And like you said, we have shows all morning. So guys, hit up the Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. The guys will be at Tipsy Tina's later on after this show. We'll throw it to them. We'll have shows going all the way up until kickoff. So hit up that Starter Heyman text line. But yeah, for key success, I really just got Nebraska. You got to figure out a way to stop the run. You're going to have to figure that out for the rest of the season. It's a problem. And In terms of offense, like I said, it's so cliche, but run the ball. I mean, like I said, Grant was getting about 5.1 yards per carry he averaged for the game, and that was pretty much using him in the first half. Those 5 yards turned to 10 yards in the second half, and we just didn't do it. So if I'm Nebraska, if I'm head coach Nebraska, like I really want to get that going. Beat Minnesota at their own game. You probably they have the better offensive line, but I mean Anthony Grant, I mean he's a great running back. Yeah, I mean he's phenomenal. So if you can just get him hot, and like you were saying, that'd help out Trey Palmer so much. And if you have a guy in Shepard Purdy who's not the slowest guy, those play actions look a hell of a lot better when you have implemented the run. So I think that's the key to success. I think it's a lot of play action, and if we have some others in there, maybe it's read option. It's really going to be who we have in there at quarterback and how it looks. But if you're Nebraska, you have to stop the run and you have to implement the run. It's really a simple recipe, I feel like, for this game. Minnesota isn't flashy. You know what you're going to get. So it really just comes down to very simple things. It's so cliche, but you got to implement the run. You got to stop the run. That's really the biggest key points of the game for me. But we can throw out some other games if you want to. You got some ones you want to talk about, some bigger ones.
Yeah, I think we could probably run through the Big Ten slate here quickly, and then maybe hit a couple of the big time matchups because there are a couple of huge matchups.
Yeah, Georgia, Tennessee is big this week.
It's a great weekend for college football. I mean, obviously, all Nebraska fans will be tuned in to the Nebraska game there at 11 on ESPN2. But there's going to be a lot of other great games going on throughout the day. However, the Big Ten slate is probably one of the only conferences this week that slate is very bad.
Yeah.
In terms of just games and quality of games. The Big Ten slate this week is actually so bad that Big Noon Kickoff decided to just completely ignore the Big Ten this week. And they went Big 12 this week instead of Big 10. So that tells you what the Big Ten slate looks like. We have Maryland and Wisconsin in Camp Randall. Wisconsin's actually favored by 5 points. Maryland's looked pretty good this year. Tualia Tagovailoa has looked very good. And we'll see what happens there. I mean, Wisconsin back to 500 now in the year. They've looked good at times. They haven't looked nearly as bad as they did right at the beginning of the season. They looked terrible early.
Yeah, Mertz has gotten a little better.
Yeah,
he hasn't looked, like you said, at the beginning of the season, he looked horrible.
Yeah, he's starting to look less like Spencer Petras. Probably the best way to put it. But yeah, I don't know how that game's going to go. I mean, I was very surprised that Wisconsin's favored by 5. I know they're at home and playing better, but Maryland's been kind of sneaky good this year. So we'll have to see what happens there. Ohio State Northwestern, I don't want to talk about that one. It's going to be just a bloodbath.
50. What's the spread on that? Probably
38.
Okay, 38, yeah, that's about right. We don't need to talk about that one.
Yeah, no. Iowa and Purdue Iowa somehow 500, which is ridiculous because they are the worst offense in college football. I don't know if the stats say so, but I'm going to say so. They are the worst offense in college football, and they go to Purdue, who has a very good offense, and they're going to throw it all over the yard. I believe. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Iowa and Purdue game that's supposed to be super windy today. Maybe I'm not sure. So that could play a factor into Purdue possibly not winning. There's maybe a slight chance Iowa goes in there and gets the win if it is really windy. I don't remember where I saw it, but I thought I saw somewhere that it's supposed to be like 40-mile-an-hour winds today in West Lafayette. So we'll see what happens. Penn State, Indiana. Penn State should win that one in Indiana. I don't think we have to probably talk a whole lot about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State goes to Illinois. That's going to be at 2:30 on Big Ten Network.
That's a good one.
Illinois favored by 16. Michigan State obviously made headlines last week with that little scrum with the Michigan players. I guess no, it was more than a scrum. That was straight up wrong. What happened in that locker room?
Yeah,
that was bad.
I can't stand that. And I hate the take too that we got to stop having players share the tunnel. It
should not be that hard for them to just not jump the other team.
No, I mean, come on, they're men at that point.
Yeah.
They're young men. That stuff's ridiculous to me. The fact that I saw people recording and adults recording and not doing anything. It's come on, guys. That one really bothered me. I didn't understand what the hell was going on with that. But yeah, Michigan State. What's your meter for the Tucker signing? I mean, he's got that long contract.
I think he's a good coach. I don't think he deserved what he got.
No,
I didn't like it when they gave it to him, that extension. But they're locked in now, so they gotta invest in him and hope that he can kind of put it together. This Michigan State roster that he inherited wasn't as good, I think, as people thought. I think Kenneth Walker just put it on his back and pretty much made it look a lot better than it was. So obviously, then you lose that generational talent, and now he's thriving in the NFL. That hurts, without a doubt. So we'll see if Michigan State can maybe pick up a couple more wins here down the stretch. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, but we'll see if they can pick up a couple more wins here down the stretch, and then maybe we'll judge him a little harder going into the next year or two when he has a chance to build some recruiting rapport. But for right now, it's not looking great, the extension, but I'm not going to call it a complete disaster yet.
No, you look at the Michigan State, a lot of guys that transferred out of Michigan State too.
Yeah.
There isn't very many that got to Power Fives. So it kind of tells you what that talent was. So
yeah, it wasn't great.
If I'm a Mel Tucker fan, I think I'm not worried about it. I think next season, I think he is a really good coach. And he just took advantage of the market.
Yeah.
He saw the coach signings and he's like, well, I'm going to get on top of this, and, good for him, get your money. But yeah, if I'm a Michigan State fan, I think they'll probably be back next year.
And they're playing a very good Illinois team with a very good coach with Brett Bielema. So we'll see. Illinois should probably take care of business. Illinois only 16th in the country right now. I mean, they kind of surprised they haven't gotten a little more love. I mean, obviously the loss to Indiana was very bad. That hurt Illinois a lot. But if they're undefeated right now, they'd probably be inside the top 10 and maybe getting a little bit of playoff talk. But that loss to Indiana is going to kill them. Obviously, they still do have a playoff chance though, which
they got to win out for sure.
They got to win out. Obviously, they're going to have to beat Michigan and Ohio State, but they got a chance. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then Michigan goes to Rutgers. Rutgers coming off a blowout loss to Minnesota last week. Michigan's coming in there. That's not going to be close. So that's about all we had for the Big Ten schedule, and that's why you can understand that Big Noon is going to go to Texas Tech and TCU. I believe that's where they're at for their Big Noon kickoff. That's their game of the week or whatever. Texas Tech 4-4, TCU 8-0. TCU, another team that's been getting more love lately, and it should continue to because they're undefeated. They're in a Power 5 conference. If they win their conference undefeated, there's no question about it. They get into the college football playoff. So that should be excited to continue to watch. They're only favored by 8 today against Texas Tech. I guess people think that Texas Tech's a little frisky. However, TCU's beaten some good teams by quite a bit of points this year. So that's probably a game I'd probably take TCU to cover and maybe even more than 8. I mean, that should be a good game. We already talked about Ohio State, Northwestern, North Carolina, Virginia. Just going through the ranked matchups here. Tulane, Tulsa. And then we got the big one, 2:30 p.m., CBS, Tennessee and Georgia, number 1 versus number 3. The ridiculous thing, though, is that Georgia's favored by 9 points against the number 1 team in the country. Going into that game, Harrison, what are your initial thoughts? What do you want to just throw out there about Tennessee and Georgia? I mean, we're kind of running out of time here, but I think we got to definitely hit this game a little bit before we get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the game. I mean, if you love college football, you're watching this game.
Should be game of the year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be. Hopefully, it's an awesome game. I'm surprised the spread's 9. I didn't realize it was 9.
Yeah,
that's quite a bit. Obviously, it's at Georgia, so that's gonna already give you 3 points on the spread right there. But I thought it'd be a lot closer. So I'm probably leaning towards Georgia still, just because I think they're so much deeper than Tennessee. But at the same time, Tennessee, I mean, they proved it all year long. I mean, they can play with anyone. So for the spread to be 9, I don't know if Vegas is seeing something that I'm not, but I think this one's going to come down to the wire. I mean, Georgia looks really good. Tennessee looks really good. I can't really, poke too many weaknesses in either team.
I think the biggest thing that I look at in terms of giving Tennessee an advantage is the most important player on a football team almost always is the quarterback.
Yeah.
And Tennessee has a guy who is arguably the Heisman right now. He's top 2 for sure. Without a doubt, it's between him and CJ Stroud and Hendon Hooker. And Georgia has Stetson Bennett. And Stetson Bennett looked good early in the season, but he's kind of looks more like Stetson Bennett lately. He's just not that great of a quarterback. I mean, he's never going to be a crazy quarterback. He game manages. He plays well for that Georgia team for what they need him to do. But that's a huge advantage that Tennessee has is that the most important player on the field, the best player for either team is on their team. And I think that's going to really, really important. Georgia, like you said, they are going to get a little bit of an advantage in the spread for being at home. But 9, if I'm Tennessee, I'm taking that as disrespect. You got to go in there, prove that you're the number 1 team in the country. And I think they got an awesome opportunity to go do that. If they beat Georgia in Athens, Tennessee can pretty much lock in the playoff. It doesn't really, I feel like at that point, it doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously, you got to still, win the game. You're supposed to win the regular season, but that would allow them to lose an SEC championship game
and still get in for sure.
They see Alabama again. But yeah, if they win today, I think their playoff odds jump from, whatever they're at now to very, very high. I think they're just about locked in as long as they take care of their games on the way out. We'll kind of quickly run through here, just kind of hit the other games that we got going on today. Oklahoma State goes to Kansas. Oklahoma State's 18. Kansas, obviously unranked, but a team that was very, very good early in the season and has been sliding a little bit. We'll see if they can get back on track at home. They are favored by 1.5 against the Okies on FS1 at 2:30. Syracuse will go to Pittsburgh at 2:30 on ACC Network. UCF goes to Memphis. Alabama and LSU, another top 10 matchup. Shouldn't be a top 10 matchup.
Yeah, that's real tight on that one.
Yeah,
I think Alabama
college football playoff. I think maybe put LSU at 10, probably just to make this matchup look better. It'll be fun though. It's a big rivalry game. Alabama is favored by 2 touchdowns though, as they probably should be. And I think they do probably cover. I don't think LSU has a whole lot of a great chance there. They're the only 2-loss team in the top 10, and they probably shouldn't be there.
It's fraudulent. Like you said, that is definitely so we can get they can get a top 10 matchup right there. LSU. I mean, 2 losses on the season. There's so many teams that could be there instead of them. So I don't fully understand that one, but I'm going all the way Alabama for sure on that one.
Texas and Kansas State, another big top 25 matchup. Texas comes in ranked 24, 5-3. Kansas State 6-2 at FS1. 6 p.m. Texas is favored by 3 at Kansas State. What do you think happens there?
You know what? I actually believe it. Texas is one of those teams that they're not the most consistent, but I mean, they can kind of the same thing. They can really push anyone when they're locked in. Their defense is extraordinary. So that's what's holding that team. Excuse me. It is 11 a.m. kickoff. That's what's holding that team together. Like, that defense is phenomenal. So that's going to be a huge issue for Kansas State. They got to figure out a way to, get a hold of that defense because they are elite.
Absolutely. Clemson goes to Notre Dame. Could be an upset alert. We'll see what happens there. Finally, top 25 matchup, Wake Forest, NC State should be a good matchup there as well. Harrison, what's your score prediction?
You know what? I'm actually going Nebraska on this one. I'm going to go Nebraska. We'll go 24, Minnesota 21.
All right, I'm going to go Minnesota 28, Nebraska 21, and we are out of here. Thank you for listening.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee.